Bam and Boo stood in their Sydney, Australia apartment, surrounded by piles of gear. They were about to embark on the adventure of a lifetime. A journey to Yellowstone National Park, a geyser-gurgling wonderland in the distant land of America. Boo, with her fiery spirit and insatiable curiosity, dreamt of exploring Yellowstone's marvels. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she envisioned grizzly bears, bison, and geysers erupting like liquid rainbows. "Just think of the possibilities," she exclaimed. Bam, her ever-supportive best friend, grinned. "And with these fancy backpacks," he said, holding up their gear, "we'll look like seasoned adventurers, even if we've never set foot in the wilderness before. Imagine all the selfies we'll take." Together, they meticulously packed for their autumn equinox trip. Boo insisted on cramming in emergency supplies like gummy bears, chocolate bars, sugar cookies, and fizzy soda. With that, they marched out the door, completely unaware of the wild, ridiculous, and slightly dangerous adventure waiting for them in Yellowstone. Would Yellowstone welcome them with a warm, fuzzy bear hug? Or was it more of a sneaky trickster, ready to turn their grand adventure into a survival story? Only one way to find out. With a final wave to the land of kangaroos, Bam and Boo took off, leaving the familiar behind and hurtling toward the great unknown. "Relax, Bam," Boo said, forcing a grin as she gripped the controls of the Bamboo Express plane like a pro. The Bamboo Express zipped through the sky, wobbling like a shopping cart with one busted wheel. Below them, Yellowstone National Park unfolded like a wild, untamed masterpiece, a place so surreal it could have been painted by a caffeinated artist with a thing for chaos and explosions. The ground moved, steam hissed from cracks, geysers threw boiling tantrums, and bubbling mud pots belched like a swamp monster with indigestion. This wasn't just a national park. It was a living, breathing beast. Sapphire blue hot springs shimmered like liquid gemstones, their swirling steam curling into the sky like ghostly dancers. Fiery orange and neon yellow bacterial mats spread across the ground in colorful patterns, nature's way of showing off. Geysers erupted in dramatic bursts, sending towers of scalding water sky-high, as if the earth itself were throwing a tantrum. Bears lumbered through golden meadows, sniffing at the wind. Herds of bison, gigantic, shaggy, and looking powerful, roamed across the valleys, occasionally pausing to stare up at the Bamboo Express. A bald eagle sliced through the sky below them, its sharp eyes locked onto something mysterious. Then came the canyons, walls of fiery red and burnt orange rock stretching toward the sky, carved by the roaring Yellowstone River. Bam's jaw dropped. Okay, this is way cooler than the brochures. With a thud, they landed, tossing aside the wings and propeller, turning the Bamboo Express into a vehicle ready for adventure. Tourists in Yellowstone stared in shock. Park rangers nearly spit out their coffee, and even a grizzly bear paused its mid-morning huckleberry snack for a second look. The park ranger, a woman named Sheila, said, "Welcome to Yellowstone National Park. Thank you for purchasing your National Park Pass. Yellowstone is a wildlife sanctuary. Please be aware of your surroundings and keep your distance from animals. Do you have any questions about the park's rules or regulations?" "Thank you, Sheila. I like this beautiful map. It's got colors and lines. Thank you." "I don't think we have questions," Boo said. Sheila continued, "Be sure to check out ranger-led programs or activities." Ranger Sheila, with the patience of petrified wood, handed them brochures, filled with warnings about the dangers of hot springs, wild animals, and changing weather conditions. The brochures fluttered down like confetti, landing on the floor of the Bamboo Express. "We made it. We're in Yellowstone." Bamboo Express was hurtling them towards geyser glory at a pace that was reckless and dangerous. Barnaby the porcupine ambled across the road, dreaming of juicy spruce bark. It was no surprise that Bamboo Express almost flattened him like a prickly pancake. The tires screeched and the car skidded to a halt, throwing dust into the air like a stampede of bison. Out popped Bam and Boo, wide-eyed and apologetic. "Oh my gosh, are you okay, little dude?" squeaked Bam. Barnaby, ever the drama queen, unleashed a porcupine lecture. "Look, no harm done," he grunted, his quills relaxing. "But seriously, slow down, all right? Us animals are just trying to cross here, not dodge a NASCAR race. Yellowstone's got enough drama without you adding to it." A nearby elk and her calf nodded, adding, "Take it slow, folks. We do not want to end up as a hood ornament." As they drove away, they heard police sirens. Bam and Boo, hearts pounding, watched as a Yellowstone Park ranger, tall and weathered like a lodgepole pine, walked beside their vehicle, his stern expression creasing his face. "You were speeding," he said, his voice firm and unwavering. "The speed limit here is 45 miles per hour, no exceptions." His boots crunching the asphalt like thunder. "Let me break it down for you two. Speed limit means exactly what it sounds like. It's the fastest you're allowed to go. Speeding disrupts the harmony of this wild place, startling animals and endangering every living creature. Here, bears, bison, elk, and even people move at nature's pace. Yellowstone is alive, a vast, breathing ecosystem where every creature, from the tiniest bee to the great grizzly, has its place." Bam and Boo locked eyes, the gravity of the ranger's words sinking in. He handed them the ticket, and the silence that followed felt suffocating. "We understand, officer," Bam mumbled, his voice tight. "We won't speed again." Time for a selfie break. Geysers? Check. Waterfalls? Check. Oh, look, a massive bull elk. Because what's a trip to Yellowstone without proof for the internet? Phones out, grinning, they crept closer. "Just one more picture," Bam whispered. "I'll get us in the photo and the reflection." "For your safety, please step back," a booming voice cut through the air. A Yellowstone Park ranger, arms waving, boots stomping. Bam and Boo froze mid-selfie. "Keep backing up. Now that elk? He can charge at 40 miles per hour, faster than you. If he feels threatened, he won't pose for your photos. And those antlers? Not for show. Sharp as spears, built for defense. Powerful enough to lift and toss a grown adult." Bam and Boo gulped and shuffled backward. The ranger shook her head. "Every year people get seriously hurt because they forget wild animals are wild. Use your zoom, not your feet. Respect their space and you'll stay safe." Hoots McGee, a great gray owl with eyes as deep as 1,000 moonlit nights, let out a chuckling hoot. "Ah, documenting your presence, are we?" Bam and Boo lowered their phones. "Yep, gotta capture the moment." Hoots tilted her head, unimpressed. "But are you really seeing? Nature isn't just a backdrop for selfies. It's a masterpiece in motion, a story whispered on the wind." She gave Bam's phone a nudge with her beak. "Try putting that thing away. Smell the pine-scented air, listen to the elk's haunting song, watch an American pika dance across the rocky talus, listen to the grunts of the bison in the meadow. The most precious memories aren't captured on a screen. They're the ones that take root in your heart, the ones you carry with you long after the moment has passed. No filters, no hashtags, just the quiet magic of being fully, breathtakingly present and alive." Bam and Boo exchanged glances. Maybe, just maybe, the wise old owl was on to something. Bam and Boo, thinking they had stumbled into the world's most luxurious spa, were about to dip their furry toes into the scalding waters of the hot spring. A voice thundered like the dragon's mouth hot spring itself. "Hold it right there, mates." A park ranger, armed with a taser gun and a bullhorn, warned. "Swimming in these hot springs is strictly forbidden. This water's so hot it could poach an egg in seconds." But, Ranger, we just wanted to feel how warm it is," Bam stammered. The ranger's voice cut through the steamy air, firm and unshakable. "Promise me you'll stay on the boardwalks. These hot springs aren't just hot. They're deadly. Boiling water, unstable ground, and bacteria that can eat away at your skin. One wrong step, and you won't just get burned. You might not make it out at all. This isn't a spa. It's one of the most dangerous places in the park. Respect it, or risk becoming the next cautionary tale. Glurch, chugaplop,
Glubberknack, choke-a-choke, squeak-a-sput, clunker-splat.
And just like that, Bamboo Express broke down on the roadside. "Are you kidding me?" Boo cried out. Gus, a grumpy but lovable mechanic from West Yellowstone, hoisted Bamboo Express onto his tow truck, with the care of a grandpa settling a grandkid into a car seat. Gus loved talking almost as much as he loved fixing cars. As he strapped the Bamboo Express onto his tow truck, he grinned, clearly itching to tell a story. A few years back, there was this guy, he started, voice low and serious. He thought he could get the perfect photo at Lower Falls. Thought he could lean just a little closer to the edge. He paused, letting the tension hang in the air. Next thing you know, he's falling, 300 feet straight down into the canyon. Gus chuckled darkly. No selfie's worth that, right? His motorcycle is still parked in West Yellowstone, all alone. Never did make it back. He shook his head, a twisted grin tugging at his lips. Some folks never learn. As if on cue, a Yellowstone historic bus, a vintage dream straight out of the park's golden age, rumbled to a stop. "Hop on, guys, I can give you a lift." Ruby smiled. His voice rumbled like thunder, grabbing their attention. "Did you know we're standing in the middle of a giant science experiment? Every 600,000 years or so, Yellowstone blows. That's right, this park is sitting on top of a supervolcano. Right below us, beneath all this beauty, is a ticking time bomb. Don't worry, it's mostly safe." He winked, and a geyser behind him decided to shoot steam into the air. "Perfect timing," Ruby giggled. Ruby's tone shifted from playful to contemplative. "The American bison. Once, they filled these lands, millions of them. Settlers shot them, for hides, for sport, for no good reason. There were only a few remaining. The Yellowstone herds you see now? Survivors. A hard-won comeback. A brutal lesson." As Ruby drove, steering the bus toward Lake Yellowstone, the road ahead seemed endless. Yet with every mile, more secrets unfurled, each one larger and deeper than the last. Bam and Boo, visions of a peaceful night under the full moon, had skipped the hassle of reservations and set up camp by Yellowstone Lake. As they wrestled with sleeping bags, a park ranger's vehicle approached. Ranger Wilson, his demeanor warm yet firm, stepped out with a kind smile. "Evening, folks," he said, his voice calm. "I'm afraid you can't camp here. What you're doing is considered out-of-bounds camping. This lake has a delicate ecosystem, and if everyone set up camp wherever they liked, we'd destroy the natural balance." He paused, the weight of his words settling in. "And bears? They're in hyperphagia right now, eating as many calories as possible before hibernation. When they catch the scent of food, they associate humans with meals. That's when things get dangerous, both for you and the animals." He gestured to the distance. "But don't worry, for a good night's rest, Lake Yellowstone Hotel's just a short walk away. It's safe and comfortable." With the ranger's guidance, they were saved from another mistake, one that could have ruined the night, and much more. Exhausted but exhilarated, Bam and Boo strolled down the winding path to the Lake Yellowstone Hotel, a stately beauty that stood tall on the lake's edge, its timeless charm glowing softly in the fading light. As they entered, they were enveloped in the elegance of another era. The lobby was a grand performance of polished wood floors, crackling fireplaces, and plush chairs that beckoned them to relax. A gray-haired woman in a flowing blue dress, the color of the lake, played soft, melodic tunes on the grand piano. Her music floated through the room, wrapping everything in a tranquil embrace. Bam and Boo sat by the window, savoring a snack. their eyes drawn to the lake outside. The water shimmered in silver and midnight blue, painting a perfect picture of calm as the night settled in. A cheerful bellhop led them to their room, a cozy haven with a four-poster bed and a balcony overlooking the moonlit waters. The waves whispered secrets to the shore, lulling them into sleep beneath a warm, downy quilt. In their dreams, Bam danced with playful marmots, while Boo counted cutthroat trout leaping in the silvery glow. They woke refreshed, the scent of pine mingling with the promise of a hearty breakfast to fuel their wanderlust. They read that the Lake Yellowstone Hotel, built in 1891, boasts a whopping 386 rooms. They learned that it's rumored to be haunted, too. Bam was particularly intrigued by the legend that the hotel's length is roughly the same size as the Titanic. As for famous guests, they were surprised to find that even Teddy Roosevelt had stayed there. Bam and Boo sat on the cozy bed, their fingers tracing the winding paths of Yellowstone National Park on a beautifully detailed map. Bam's eyes lit up when he spotted a lake labeled Heart Lake. "Boo, let us hike to Heart Lake this morning. It says here it is a large backcountry lake nestled at the base of Mount Sheridan. What the heck? It can't be too far. It looks like a beautiful day." They packed their backpacks, loaded onto a historic Yellowstone tour bus, and made their way to the Heart Lake trailhead. The crisp September air nipped at Bam and Boo's noses as they jumped off the bus, its deep rumble fading into the vast, eerie silence of the valley. Standing at the trailhead, Bam and Boo were alone, hearts racing with the thrill of the unknown. The sky, ablaze with the first light of dawn, set the autumn aspen leaves on fire, gold, amber, and bright yellow igniting the landscape. Their plan? Hike to Heart Lake and rack up some serious adventure points. "Darn it! No signal! I don't have a signal on my phone!" Boo muttered, shaking the device as if the wilderness might somehow grant her connection. They started walking. Each step crunched the fallen leaves, a dry sound that crinkled in the cool air. The forest was a maze of golden aspen and tall pines. Sunlight poked through the branches, painting stripes of light and shadow on the dirt path. In the distance, howling wolves sent a shiver down their spines. They had a feeling that something wild and real was out there, just beyond the next bend. The air, balmy moments ago, now carried a nip of mischief. The autumn breeze swirled fallen leaves in a mock ballet. Then, with a theatrical gust, ripped Bam's chocolate bar wrapper clean out of his paws, sending it on a hilarious tumbleweed tour through the wilderness. Without warning, the atmosphere transformed. Clouds, once wispy and benign, ballooned into towering giants, their anvil-shaped forms stretching towards the stratosphere. Snowflakes began to fall, delicate and lacy, but quickly gave way to stinging ice pellets that ripped through the air like 1,000 tiny needles. The storm's fury intensified, driven by the push of cold Arctic air. The wind howled, a deafening roar that threatened to consume them whole. As the storm closed in, they stood frozen, their tiny figures dwarfed by the storm's unyielding power. The wind whispered their names, Bam, Boo, in a cold, unforgiving, haunting melody. The notes were a low, keening moan, like the mournful cry of a lonely wolf. The blizzard slammed down, a white wall that erased everything they knew. Their easy hike was now a blind, stumbling mess. 2 feet of snow piled up fast, turning them into shivering white lumps of fur, their faces frozen with shock. Bam, panicked, slipped into an icy stream. The freezing water bit deep, a cold that went right to his bones. They huddled together, their phones. No signal, just the howling wind and the endless snow. They should have checked the forecast. They should have packed emergency food, a way to start a fire. Another mistake, added to the growing list. There was no ranger here, no one to save them this time. Just them, alone, in a storm that wanted to swallow them whole. A deep fear crawled into their hearts, a cold, empty feeling. They were city kids, lost in the wild. They didn't know how to survive this. Will they even make it? Will this be the end of their adventure? Yellowstone, once a dream, was now a nightmare. A pair of eyes, hard and black as frozen huckleberries, burned through the swirling white. A wolverine, gulo, a creature sculpted by the very brutality of the alpine winter, smelled the wind. His whiskers twitched, registering an alien scent. The scent was not the familiar musk of elk or the sweet tang of a snowshoe hare. This was something other. Through the blizzard's relentless curtain, two shapes, furred and indistinct, struggled against the white. Koalas, in Yellowstone. A baffling anomaly. These were not the animals he knew. They were soft, bewildered, their expressions mirroring the lost, vulnerable state of prey. This wolverine, a solitary hunter with a metabolism that demanded constant fuel, was hungry. What would they taste like? He moved, a shadow amongst shadows, his thick fur an evolutionary marvel against the cold, providing near-perfect camouflage. He watched them stumble, their movements clumsy. A flick of his paw, a flash of teeth, and it would be over. Before the wolverine could pounce, a hulking figure emerged from the blizzard. A massive grizzly bear, roused from his pre-hibernation slumber, came into view. A wolverine, a fury sculpted from muscle and mischief, skidded to a halt before the grizzly, fangs gleaming. "Move it, furry grizzilla!" it snarled, pointing a barbed claw at two shivering lumps. "Koala snacks, I'm hungry." "Not so fast, Stinkosaurus," the grizzly rumbled. "They're lost, not lunch. Koalas are not on the Yellowstone lunch menu today. Bad for the digestion, you know. Do you want to add eucalyptus-munching marsupial to your digestive belly? You'd be emitting stinky methane clouds larger than Old Faithful." The Grizz winked at the two koalas, a twinkle in her wise old eyes. Bam and Boo were trembling with fear and gratitude. With a frustrated sniff, the wolverine said, "Yeah, you're probably right." With an almost apologetic grin, as if he'd just remembered he'd left the oven on, he zipped off, leaving a trail of bewildered snow puffs in his wake. The female grizzly, her dense fur frosted silver by Yellowstone's relentless blizzards, lifted her nose to the wind. The air carried the unmistakable scent of panic. These odd little creatures reeked of it. She exhaled, a cloud of warm breath vanishing into the icy air. Bam and Boo, locked in her gaze, felt a ridiculous wave of relief, as if they had just stumbled upon a giant fur-clad wilderness guide with a doctorate in not dying in Yellowstone. This mighty Grizz had seen humans before, clumsy, noisy, often bumbling straight into trouble. But these two? They were smaller, softer, like lost plush toys abandoned in the snow. With a slow, deliberate motion, she nudged them toward the narrow, snow-packed trail, her massive paw prints carving a safe path ahead. "Follow me." "Stay in my tracks," she seemed to say, her deep rumble vibrating through the cold ground. Bam and Boo obeyed without question, stepping carefully into each print she left behind, grateful beyond words. With claws like steak knives, the grizzly spoke to the koalas in a surprisingly gentle voice. "My name is Ursa," she snorted, snowflakes flying off her fur like wheat flour on a bread baker's apron. "Foolish fuzzballs. Didn't you see the clouds bruise the sky? Hear the wind's mournful howl?" Bam, teeth still chattering, mumbled, "We were too busy taking selfies, I guess." Ursa curled her upper lip before she realized they missed the mark. Too distracted, too careless. "I suggest that both of you need to learn to see the world with different eyes. Ursa's decree. Learn to see, truly see. Not to conquer, but to know and try to understand. It's not easy. Understand the wind's whisper, the animal's language. Only then, as guests, not masters, might you glimpse your place in the world." She continued, "Knowledge is power, understanding, a shield. Some see, some don't. Science offers a path, but only to those who seek it. Ignore the world's lessons, and you'll be left in the dark. The blizzard still hadn't calmed its tantrum, and Bam and Boo sat hunched, shivering like eucalyptus popsicles. Ursa chuckled. Time for some tea, and a lesson on plants. She poured steaming cups, the scent of pine needles, dried huckleberry leaves, and honey curling into the cold air. Boo took a sip, her whiskers twitching. Whoa, this tastes amazing. Ursa leaned in, eyes twinkling like frost on a pine bough. Out here, plants aren't just decoration. They can save you, or take you out. She held up a twig. Pine needles, full of vitamin C, willow bark, chew it. Nature's aspirin. That purple lupine flower, gorgeous but toxic. Take a bite and your stomach will stage a rebellion. Bam and Boo exchanged wide-eyed glances. Ursa grinned. Yellowstone is a wild apothecary, if you know the recipe. And trust me, nature doesn't do retakes. As the last drops of tea warmed their bellies, they realized survival tasted really, really good. Follow me, Ursa murmured, her voice as steady as an ancient glacier. Boo and Bam hesitated, then stepped forward, trailing her shadow. Beneath a 2,000-year-old aspen grove, where the air shimmered with filtered sunlight, Ursa's hidden library pulsed like a living heart. Shelves, hewn from wood the color of weathered bronze, cradled books older than Yellowstone National Park. Their pages, thick as winter moss, bore the weight of centuries, each a canvas of faded ink and whispered history. Those old books weren't just paper and words. They held bright, powerful ideas, like a colorful blanket made from the living stories of everything. They could change how you think and what you do. Each page was ready to ignite the mind like a magical spark. Ursa reached for a leather-bound book, its cover sighing with forgotten stories. As she opened it, Boo and Bam gasped. Above the weathered book, an orb shimmered, a living sphere of light, pulsing like the heartbeat of the earth itself. It cast shifting waves across their faces, gold, magenta, orange, blue, and green, as deep and endless as a star-filled sky. Ursa's voice, low and crackling like fire, whispered, "This is the weave. The unseen threads of how all things are connected. The wind's breath, the river's path, the elk's migration, the soil, rocks, and roots beneath your feet." She lifted a claw, dipping it into the swirling glow. Threads of light spiraled out, twisting like vines, stretching toward the sky, sinking into the soil. "This isn't magic," she murmured. "It's the pulse of wilderness and Yellowstone, the grand conversation of life. Aspen whisper to each other through their roots. Wolves shape rivers by keeping elk on the move. Even the soil breathes, alive with hidden networks of fungi and microbes." Bam and Boo sat frozen, wide-eyed. The world they thought they knew was deeper, richer, more alive than they had ever imagined. The orb's revelation was a nudge, a lens sharpening their perception. Ursa explained that reading, truly absorbing knowledge from those aged pages, was like learning to decode the language of the earth itself. It wasn't just about dates and names, but about understanding the intricate dance of ecosystems, the physics of a hawk's dive, the chemistry of a blooming wildflower. Ursa explained that reading those ancient books meant learning Earth's own language. But there was more than just reading. True understanding demanded real experience. Observing a wolf in Yellowstone, feeling the winter wind and the instinct to hunt, mapping stars, tracing ancient light, observing colorful life thriving in scalding hot springs. These were not just adventures. They were lessons etched in reality, blending science, observation, and wonder. Each personal experience weaves stories into the vast, interconnected tapestry of life, earned through patience, effort, and reflection. Ursa closed the book, and the orb's glow faded, leaving behind a quiet warmth, like embers still smoldering in their hearts. Bam cleared his throat. "Wow, just amazing. So, can we read more of your books and absorb your bear wisdom?" Ursa chuckled, ruffling her fur with one massive paw. Some knowledge isn't in books, it's out there, waiting to be found. Bam and Boo stepped outside, the crisp night air biting at their noses. The blizzard had reshaped the land, sculpting drifts into frozen waves. Above them, the sky exploded into color, ribbons of blue and violet swirling through a sea of stars, shimmering with the glow of distant galaxies. They no longer saw just tiny lights. They saw ancient fires, long extinguished, their stories still traveling across time. They felt the pull of the moon, the silent signals between trees, the breath of the earth rising through Yellowstone's steaming vents. A quiet understanding settled over them. Bam nudged Boo. "I think Ursa just blew my mind." Boo grinned, eyes reflecting the dancing aurora. "Mine too." The next morning, Ursa led them back into the library. "As the winter settles, I'll be entering my hibernation," she explained, a gentle smile playing on her lips. "You two are welcome to explore my books. They're yours to read while I sleep." "Thank you, Ursa." "We'd love to," Bam exclaimed, eyes already scanning the shelves. "This is a gift." "But what exactly is hibernation?" Ursa continued. "There's some serious science happening under my fur blanket. During the spring, summer, and autumn, I eat a lot of food. Some of that yummy food turns into fat stores, kind of like a piggy bank. Just before winter, my body starts prepping for the long sleep. My heart, usually thumping like a drum, slows down to a lazy hum, saving energy. My breathing, normally whooshing like a mountain wind, becomes calm and quiet, almost like I'm holding my breath. Even my body temperature takes a dive. And you know what? I don't even need to go potty all winter. No poo-poo, no pee-pee. My body recycles everything super efficiently. Pretty neat, huh?" Huddled below a snow-laden, rocky talus slope, two American pycaws, Pip and Squeak, chatted with excitement. Known as little chief hares, rock rabbits, or whistling hares, they are related to rabbits and do not hibernate during the winter. They learned from the raven the most peculiar creatures were visiting Ursa. Pip squeaks, his whiskers twitching, said,
"Those are koalas, Squeak. Lost in a blizzard they were. I have an idea. Let's take a pile of the aspen and cottonwood leaves we collected this autumn and let the koalas sample our local cuisine."
Squeak agreed. And so, the delivery mission commenced. Pip and Squeak, with the determination of tiny Sherpas, scampered through the snow. They dodged frosted pine needles and leaped frozen streams, their little legs churning like furry snowmobiles. Finally, they reached the koalas.
"G'day, mates. We come bearing gifts. A taste of Yellowstone backcountry just for you."
Yellowstone's gossip network, mostly overly chatty ravens, spread the koala news, faster than a wildfire. Mama Otter, a furry torpedo of pure joy, rallied her pups with a gleam in her eye that screamed, "We're going to share some kindness." Their first act? A synchronized trout-catching routine. They practically did backflips underwater, emerging with a cutthroat trout, so surprised it was still asking, "Wait, what just happened?" Their second act? They embarked on a slippery, slithering mission to Ursa's den. They even managed to outmaneuver a grumpy elk who, instead of being annoyed, just snorted a noise that sounded suspiciously like applause. Their third act? After arriving at Ursa's den, they launched themselves, sending a blizzard of powder and the bewildered trout flying. The otters understood the bear's need for a significant calorie boost before hibernating, and were determined to provide just that. Beneath a canopy of soft, amber light, Boo and Bam nestled among a treasure trove of leather-bound volumes. Their world, a cozy haven, was transformed into a universe of unfolding stories. Each book, its worn covers whispering tales of the wild, shimmered with secrets. Boo was particularly captivated by a chronicle of edible and poisonous plants and mushrooms, their vibrant illustrations dancing across the pages. Boo's imagination soared, carried on the wings of every page. A soft snore rumbled across the den. Bam peeked over his book. There was Ursa, the magnificent, slightly terrifying grizzly who not only saved their lives from the blizzard and that wolverine, but also stuffed their heads full of wilderness wisdom. Now she was out cold, sprawled across the library floor like a fallen tree, paws twitching in some bear-sized dream. Bam smirked. Guess eating that cutthroat really knocked her out. "Looks like Ursa is starting to hibernate," Bam whispered. "Let's go outside and play for a while." Time drifted by, like snowflakes on a lazy wind, each day piling up in soft, quiet wonder. The den smelled like pine needles, old books, and the faintest hint of honey. Outside the wind howled, but inside, wrapped in the safety of Ursa's embrace, everything was soft, quiet, and perfectly, sleepily wild. As they nestled against Ursa's massive form, weary from their adventures in Yellowstone's backcountry, they knew their slumber would bridge the harsh winter and the promise of spring. The Earth's nurturing embrace replenished their bodies, and the ancient heartbeat of the planet filled their souls with peace. Bam and Boo found solace, their hearts overflowing with love for the majestic bear who had given them a second chance at life. Boo mumbled into Ursa's fur, "If I wake up and there's still snow, I'm going right back to bed." After months curled in a furry ball, sunlight tickles Ursa's nose. A frosty yawn escapes her snout. A deep inhale, crisp air laced with pine and damp earth, a reflection of spring's rebirth. Ursa's stomach growled like a bear-sized thunderstorm. After months of hibernation, she was seriously hungry. Spring had arrived with a warm breeze and the taste of melting snow on her tongue, and now it was time for a crash course in survival. She led Bam and Boo to an old log, showing them how to peel back the bark to reveal the treasures underneath. "This is like nature's candy bar," Ursa explained, licking her lips. "But without the wrapper or the candy." The snow was finally melting, revealing patches of earth that smelled like dirt and freedom. The glacier lilies had bloomed, their yellow petals popping against the deep green leaves. Boo squinted at the flowers. "Are those really flowers? They look like something you'd eat in a salad." Spring had arrived, and the world was practically doing a happy dance. Ursa had one last surprise for them, a gift of pure bear creativity. With a grunt, she lumbered through the lodgepole pine forest, searching for fallen trees from the winter storm. When she found the perfect pine log, she dragged it out of the forest, like it was a twig, her powerful muscles rippling with each pull. Meanwhile, Bam and Boo were packing up to head back to civilization. Yes, Ursa the bear had an outdoor wood shop. It was a sight to behold, a grizzly, with fur dusted in sawdust, hunched over a plank of wood like she was about to carve out a masterpiece. Ursa, a patient teacher, showed Bam and Boo how to coax the spirit of cross-country skis from the wood, shaving the pine into smooth planks, each one a canvas for memories. Boo found her paws strangely steady as she sanded the emerging skis, the sawdust tickling her nose. "These aren't just skis," said Boo, tracing the smooth wood. "They're tokens of a winter we'll never forget." Ursa, her eyes glinting with affection, squeezed them both. Bam and Boo, their little paws gripping Ursa's massive fur, holding on as if the world itself might shatter if they let go. The air felt heavier now, thick with the weight of a goodbye neither wanted to face. Soft sobs broke the silence. Boo's voice was barely a whisper, but it carried more than words ever could. "Ursa, we'll miss you so much. Your love will stay with us, like the flame of an Olympic torch, lighting our path with your kindness wherever we go." Ursa's eyes, filled with something unspoken, flickered with the same sadness. She pulled them close one last time, pressing them into her grizzled coat, her bare heart aching with the weight of love. In that moment, the world around them, Yellowstone, the forest, the sky, felt as if it paused, holding its breath, honoring the raw beauty of their friendship. The air between them was thick with everything they couldn't say, grief, gratitude, and the kind of love that makes goodbyes feel like a wound. With a final dramatic wave, Bam and Boo turned their skis toward the Heart Lake trailhead. As they glided down the trail, the landscape unfolded like a dream, an adventure woven into the very fabric of their being. In this wild world, they had discovered not just the raw power of nature, but the quiet resilience of friendship, the unexpected warmth of strangers, and a wisdom that had grown deep within them, like roots reaching for the heart of the earth. Yellowstone, its soaring peaks, infinite skies, and endless forests, seemed to pause, as if the land itself were frozen in anticipation, watching them. Boo glanced over at Bam and grinned. "You think we'll be able to outrun a pack of wolves or a hungry wolverine on these skis?" Bam laughed. "But seriously, only if we're going downhill. Those guys can run fast."
Bam and Boo, koalas on a quest, headed to Yellowstone but weren't ready for the test. City folks in a bamboo van took off, not sure what they had planned. Their ride, their van was made of bamboo, flew through the sky with wings that were true. When they landed, they said woo-hoo, took off the wings and the propeller too. Now it's a ride, perfect for the road, ready for Yellowstone, off they go. They landed near a geyser of mud, zoomed past signs like they misunderstood. Stopped just in time with a screech and a spin, nearly bumped into a porcupine with a grin. Oh, Yellowstone, so big and wild, Bam and Boo were in over their heads mild. Nature's rules they didn't get, now they're learning you can bet. Their van broke down, what a mess, had to catch the bus, feeling stressed. Met Gus, who knew it all, taught them how to avoid a fall. Set up camp in the wrong spot, ranger showed up, said, "This is not what you thought." He told them about a hotel near the shore. They slept there dreaming of trails galore. They hiked up high feeling bold, but winter hit and the air turned cold. Shivering, they stumbled around, a wolverine grinned, "Koalas for dinner, let's pound." Lost and cold, things weren't right. Then Ursa the bear made space for the night. They sipped on tea, curled up tight, read about nature by the firelight.